My recent 1600 mile road trip in my Model 3 gave me a really good taste of long distance travel in a Tesla in the UK. In this video I'm going to walk you through the journey and most importantly share some learnings that I had along the way. For those only interested in the bottom line, the car was great and the Tesla superchargers are fantastic. I think the journey was slightly slowed down by needing to charge, but not by that much at all. Now for those that want the detail. This journey was completed in a 2021 Tesla Model 3 long range. I had a roof box on the top and two bikes on the back. My car has a quoted range of 360 miles, but with this setup my max range would be about 235 miles using all of the battery. To get the max range of the car you'd need to be using 220 watt hours per mile, which I've never managed unless I'm going downhill with the wind behind. Normally I average about 250 watt hours per mile, but with this setup it was closer to 330, so way less efficient than normal, hence the reduction in the miles. But I think that makes this a realistic test for long journeys as you'll often have the car loaded up. It also makes it relevant for Teslas and other electric cars with slightly reduced ranges as well. So our trip started in Surrey and went to Hexham near Newcastle. Then from there we went up to the northwest of Scotland. We spent a week in Scotland, then did the full 680 miles home in one go, which took 17 hours. And we did all of this with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old in the back. Something you don't have to think about in a combustion engine car is your strategy for stops. You stop when you're hungry, you stop when the car needs fuel. But for this, we had a strategy, and that was to listen to the car route planner about when to charge, but also just to stop when we needed to. I guess one of my instant comments is that with only adults in the car, then you'd stop maybe every 3 or 4 hours for a quick toilet stop and a coffee, and then you get back on the road. The Tesla route planner would be great for this, and you'd stop when the car told you to. But with small children it's very different, and so we stopped every 2 hours or so for 45 minutes to let the kids run around. And this is where the strategy kicked in. We didn't want to put pressure on ourselves to always be charging, and sometimes we stopped and didn't charge. Okay, so the journey itself. The first leg from Surrey to Hexham was 323 miles in total. Our first stop wasn't a planned charging stop, but there was a bonus charger at the services. But here was our first problem, as there was only one charger and that was taken. So we went inside and I kept an eye on it until it was free. It freed up, I ran out, plugged the car in, and then found that it was only charging at 2 kilowatts. So after 45 minutes I only added a very small amount to the battery, and to be honest it was a complete waste of time. So we needed to do one more Tesla charger stop, and so we trusted the onboard computer to tell us when. It routed us to a charger with no facilities, but we stopped here for 50 minutes to go from about 20% to about 95%, which will get us to our destination. We stayed here for a few days and charged to 100% from the house. And the next leg of the journey was from Hexham to the north of Scotland, a 375 mile journey. For our first charge we lucked out when stopping for lunch, and there was a 50 kilowatt charger in the car park. So while we enjoyed our lunch, we went almost to full with the battery. And this was in theory enough to get us all the way to our destination. But this is actually the first time in 9 months of ownership that I did get a bit of range anxiety. The roads were getting increasingly remote and we knew that we were going to get to our destination with about 15% of battery. And given our higher usage, I was worried that we would get stuck short in the middle of nowhere, and so we stopped one last time at a 50 kilowatt charger which was free to use, and we only charged for 15 minutes just to complete our journey. We arrived in Scotland and spent a week here charging from the holiday let. And then it was time for the big one, the return journey, the 665 mile journey home. Pre-kids and pre-electric car, this used to take us about 12 hours. This time it took 17 hours. Now I'd say roughly that 1 hour of that was because of the charging and the rest was because of the kids. We mainly used the Tesla chargers on the way home, stopping 3 times when the car told us to, and one bonus stop at our lunch spot from the way up to use the 50 kilowatt charger there too. The Tesla computer would have you charge for 20 to 40 minutes when you get to a charger, and it would then tell you to set off with about 60% of battery. But we were tending to charge for longer to get us up to about 90%. Also, the Tesla chargers are super quick, so it really isn't that much hassle charging at them. It's amazing how many people ask me how the journey was in an electric car, And honestly, in conclusion, the electric car really didn't have that much impact on the drive. The young children were a much bigger impact. We were planning to go up again at Christmas, but we have decided to fly up this time rather than driving. So I've got a few learnings and a few conclusions here. And the first is that the Tesla route planner is really good. You can trust it. It will reroute as your consumption changes. It will give you different options. It will route you the most efficient way to your destination, bearing in mind that the car charges quicker when the battery is more depleted and charges slower the more full that the battery gets. Also, I would say to charge for longer than the car tells you to. So although I've just said the route planner is really good, I think Tesla can be a little bit optimistic in the consumption that you're going to get, and so I'd recommend that you just charge a little bit longer, maybe 5 or 10 minutes longer each time that you're charging, just to make sure that you're always staying on the right side of that charge. Another point is that most of the superchargers we used had really good facilities, and I really wasn't expecting that. Out of the 6 or 7 that we visited, only one didn't have anything, and that one was probably a 10-minute walk from a local McDonald's/petrol station, which we did do while the car was charging. But all of the others are next to coffee shops or they're in service stations, so they're a lot more conveniently placed than I thought they were. And my final learning here is that I think the non-Tesla chargers are often a bit useless and expensive and slow. So I'm not sure how this experience would translate into a non-Tesla car, maybe a Nissan Leaf or similar, but I'd be really interested to see how people get on with that. So leave a comment below if you have experience of that. We'd love to know how you're getting on. And I really hope you found this video useful. I've got lots of other videos about my experiences with the Model 3, so please look them up and consider subscribing too. Cheers.